All right. How did you like that warm-up song?
How do you guys host the show without dancing to that song?
I dance.
We
every
usually
time.
dance every time.
This is a unique position for me. Like, I'm not even
Okay.
a co-host. I'm a guest. I'm the entertainment.
I know. So we have a special guest in today. We're going to be interviewing Jesse Christiansen, who's usually the interviewer. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal for me.
Even a bigger deal with that Friends theme song. I'm going to play the role of Chandler. We're going to have UB Ross.
Can we get a fountain in here to dance to?
Cody Rachel.
Also, Jared, I don't know if you're in charge of makeup, but like, look how shiny my forehead is.
We have a little new setup here. We have cameras all over the place.
Did you put a bunch of oil, or is that just natural?
Apparently, I have bad skin. Okay, Jared. My kids tell me my least good feature is my skin.
Your oil.
And it's weird because I look flawless.
I can't see.
The more
your skin.
cameras, the better I look. Hey, let's just jump right in. What are you most passionate about, Jess?
Right now, how shiny my forehead is.
No, I'm excited for today's podcast because I get, as always, we have Sean Boys in here with us, but we don't always get to interview like legends. You know what I mean? And today we have a legend in this a Clear Home legend.
And it was tough for both of you. You had to check my calendar. Jared had to go through my agent.
Yeah, for everyone, just to get you on the same page, Jesse called me in his office the other day and just informed me that in the future, if I wanted any of his time, I needed to get on his calendar and schedule it out, which went over pretty well for us, for our relationship. That was a good step for us.
His agent from LA. That's
I'm not backing down from my stance.
You guys have been friends for like almost 2 decades,
of
and
weeks.
he's like, "Get on my calendar."
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
In our 40s, we're trying to get efficient, Sean.
I don't have a
I
problem
could
with that.
die any
Trust
point.
me, I'm
I'm
older
actually
than
trying
you,
to
I
gain
know.
more time with you
Thank you.
by scheduling it because it's that important to me.
Thank you. Well, enough about us and the cameras and our shiny foreheads. I want to learn about Jesse Christiansen. So, Jesse, you're from a small town called Blanding. Why don't you tell us all in 30 seconds or less about your childhood and what brought you to Clear Home?
You can't explain Blanding in 30 seconds. But if you know the business at Clear Home, there's a large percentage of us from Blanding, and then a few at a wider scope that we would call San Juan County. Some of
Monticello.
some of the Mons and some of the like. If you have me and the Arthurs here is like tier 1 talent, and then the Monticello guys are like
Tier 3.
at tier 2,
Right after the
tier
reservation.
2.5.
I have never actually been to Blanding.
We're
I've been
redneck.
to Monticello many times, but they won't let me into Blanding.
We're redneck farm kids, and we're amazing.
They do work hard.
They do.
Okay, we're gonna dive right in, and I'm gonna start you off with a hard one. So, I had a conversation this morning with somebody, and they're like, "Man, you're really good at math." And I said, I attribute all of my quick math and percentages and statistics skills to baseball cards. And I explained to him how growing up that like my mind just works that way because of the back of baseball cards. And that's why I still collect them to this day to stay sharp on my math. But I was thinking about it and I was just like, one of Jesse's best skills is when there's a fire, when there's a problem, I feel like you're at your best. Right. And so for everyone listening, every single day there's a roller coaster of emotions and things that come at you, and you're dealing with different stuff. But when the negative things happen, there's some people that shy away. There's some people that they maybe deal with it, but it puts them in a bad place. There's some people that you actually, I'm with you a lot of the time when these things happen. You actually like get excited about it. You embrace it. And then I really do think that as working with you for a long time, it's like when you're at your best. What do you think shaped that? Like, were you born with that? What helped you learn that? And is there any like one thing? I'm sure my math skills come from a lot of different things, but I give out all the credit to like baseball cards, right? What is the thing that you give credit to where it makes you embrace the suck, as the Navy SEALs would say?
Yeah, I think there's one. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate that. I'm about to go biblical on you, I guess. And I'm not trying to.
Most of these podcasts get religious, so we welcome it.
I'm not trying to make a comparison to myself, right? But let's take the story of like Jesus in there in the boat, and he's got his apostles out there, and like the storm comes and everyone's freaking out, right? Like, who do they look to in that moment?
Normally I'd say God, but he was with them, right? So yeah,
Because
The captain.
He was the guy who was calm and not worried, right? Like, obviously, he had a fantastic skill set, so he was super prepared for this. But unfortunately, like, the way I think that I've learned it is having gone through some stressful, shitty business moments in my career. You know, for those of you who know me, I was in mortgages in 2008, and we crashed the entire economy. And so at a young age, like, that was a good lesson for me to learn that, like, things can go haywire on you pretty quick. And at that point, like, I wasn't proud or happy about the way I responded to, like, the stress. In fact, I kind of ran from, I had this talk with Isaac Mon the other day because I was impressed at how he handled the situation. And I remember when that kind of fell apart, it was stressful. I was seeing people I knew lose their homes, get foreclosed on, businesses close, people I thought that were super wealthy and successful go under. And then I kind of got to sit back and watch my circle and friend group and how they reacted to the stress, and how some of them ended in divorce, unfortunately, suicides. I know a guy who ended up in the mental hospital for months from this after an attempted suicide. And then my buddy Regan, who you know, I just watched him like get calm, be honest about the problems, and slowly deal with them and like grind his way out. And I think that's kind of like where some of it came from. And then at my time at Clear, right? Like, not everything's rosy, not everything's perfect. And early on in my career here, I got asked to handle some really difficult, stressful stuff that I wasn't prepared for. And it was tough. And at the end, I looked back and I was like, oh, it's all right. And the reality is like, we're middle-aged, right? You'll go through your life and you'll look back and be like, nothing's as bad as it seemed in that moment. And I'm halfway through my life and everything's turned out all right. So why is the next half not going to turn out all right, right? And you will see, right? Like, when things are tough and scary. In that 2008 moment, I didn't really have anyone, and I wish I would have had someone who could have really sat me down and be like, hey, dude, I know this seems big to you, but like, things are okay. Calm down. Let me hold your hand, and we'll like walk through this, right? And so I think maybe that's one of the only ways to learn it is you kind of got to go through the fire. But I think that's one of them. No matter what situation you're going through, like, it's good to put it in perspective and just realize like things are going to be all right. You'll be fine.
That's really important, though, that people understand what we're saying here, because I've always said that a really good trait in salesmen is when they're self-motivated, and you can't really teach that. But if you get a salesman who's self-motivated, it's awesome, right? You don't have to like dig for him. So what Jesse does is, so people understand, is when things get really bad, he doesn't just stay calm. He actually proactively starts working. Like, and that's an amazing trait that if more people had, and I think you have to learn it through experience and age probably. But it's not just that he stays calm. He actually gets productive and starts moving. And the best way to get yourself out of a situation that's anxious or not good is movement, right? It's action. And Jesse's really good at like, okay, this is really bad. Time to go to work. It's awesome.
Yeah. That is also part of it, right? Like, not only do you need to be calm, you actually have to provide a strategy and a way out. And what people need to know is it doesn't have to be the right strategy or the perfect strategy. If you're the only guy with a plan, people will listen to you, right? So just put together the best plan you can and then move forward. And another thing of that's important to me, and if like Kevin, if you've been around me, I know sometimes this actually annoys people. I really like people to get along. I really like people to see eye to eye and find some middle ground. And for me, that's a big part of it too, is not only putting together a plan, but usually the reason there's turmoil is because there's conflict and people not getting along and things not going well. So you also have to be good at trying to get people who are at opposite ends of the spectrum to get along. And I know where that comes from in me, right? If we're talking about the Wolverine origin story, we have this joke in my family. I come from a big Mormon family. And so there's a shit ton of kids and people fight, right? You're punching each other. And me and my oldest brother, we did not get along. And he was always fighting with me. So my parents, and I didn't know this till I became an adult, my parents came up with what they called the Peacemaker Award. And I was a fat kid. So like the Peacemaker Award was like a plaque that you got to hang in your room, but it was also a candy bar. So when they were like, hey, we're going to do the Peacemaker Award, and then every Monday night we announce who won the Peacemaker Award. And dude, I won that thing 9 out of 10 times. If there was 10 weeks of Peacemaker Awards, I win 9 of them. When I was like 35 years old, I found out the Peacemaker Award was fake and rigged.
It was made up?
The Peacemaker Award was made up, and it was rigged for me to mostly be the winner so that I would work hardest to get along with people. Because turns out Like Taylor Swift says, I'm the problem. It's me, Kev.
Should we end the podcast right
just
there
end it
with
with-
Taylor Swift? We usually try to end with Taylor Swift, and
But-
you pulled that out a little early, but that was
Really, I
beautiful.
do think being in the madness of like a giant, large household with a bunch of rowdy kids running along, like I had to figure out how to like, I'm a middle kid. I got to figure out how to get everyone to get along to like survive. And sometimes I think it can be annoying. Sometimes I need to let people work their frustration. And you've seen it, right? I like for people to get along and see each other's point of view. But I think in moments of big chaos, you really got to be able to step back and take your personal emotions of like how this is affecting you and understand how it's affecting everyone and be cognizant of that. And you got to be willing to give a little bit.
Yeah, I think another thing I was thinking, especially when Sean kind of chimed in, when I talk to people and they just broke up with a girl or a boy and they're all sad, and it's like you're gonna do one of two things. You're going to just keep going back to that same well, and probably never dig your way out of it or take a while. But the second you get excited
And if
about,
she was really pretty, some of us went back to that well a few too many times, right, Kev?
I've heard.
No comment.
But the only way to replace it, the only way to get over that pain is to replace it with something you're excited with, right? And I think in sales especially, man, things happen every single day that you get to choose if it derails you, if it puts you in a good mood, bad mood, or things. So kind of on like a magnified level for the people listening, really like the answer to it is so crazy how often you and I have conversations of issues or problems, and the solution is, well, let's just go produce more accounts. Let's go get more accounts. Like the best way to dig yourself out of some bad news, go have some success really quick. And it is crazy how quickly that the endorphins from a win can replace the negative feelings of a loss, right? And I see you do that just constantly. So I just wanted to start there, and I think it's really good. But for everyone listening, if you're having a bad day, go get a win right now. Stop, press pause, go get a win, go get a set, go get an upload, go get a signature. I promise you, whatever you're dealing with, it's going to feel better when you go get a win. But if you let yourself like wallow in whatever it is that you're in, you're going to stay there till you get a win anyway. You may as well go force a win really quick, right? And
I love that. And it's actually one of the reasons you and I are such good friends. Like you and I became good friends after that 2008 period that I was just talking about. Oh, yeah. And you know me now compared to then. Back then, I would wallow in that stuff, right? And I would get angry about stuff. I would be moody. Like I would hold these grudges or these things. And it took me a long time to like figure out how to get out of that. And there was a thing you told me one day. I was kind of being a pain in the ass. And you're like, hey, dude, you actually chose to come here. Like, why are you mad about this? You chose to come here, right? And that was a big learning lesson for me of like, oh, you are in control of what you do. And also like mentally, there's tons of tricks, right? I love that. That's the other thing. Like I get up every morning at 5 to work out. I'm getting old, and for the first time I'm realizing like maybe I shouldn't try and max out every day, right? And now, so I was like, hey, I just need to do some like walking or light jogging. I need to have some rest days, but I'm not going to have those rest days being sleeping in, because if I wake up and it's 7 o'clock, that's a loss to me and it affects my whole day, right? So like whatever it is in sales, if it's go get a win, or if it's just like, dude, I promised myself I'm going to knock 10 more businesses, or I'm going to make that super hard call to that client and let them know they didn't qualify or whatever. Like anything mentally you can do to move a step forward, I don't think people understand the changes that puts in your mind.
Can I just, one thing that's come up a couple times is learning, which I think is really cool. So I've known Jesse for a very, very long time. I've only worked with you for a short amount of time, but I have a lot of respect for Jesse. And even that story about the candy bar thing, whatever, you learned a lesson regardless, right? After the fact.
Yeah, that
thing about,
my parents are liars.
Jesse is you're old enough that you've learned a lot of lessons. What I really respect about Jesse is still learning all the time. Jesse's a very smart businessman. Jesse's a CEO person, right? You're my CEO. And he'll look at what's
Don't
missing.
let Reggie get this link, Jared.
Hey, no secrets. And so when Jesse sees something's missing from his repertoire, even right now, he'll just go and figure that out. Oh, I need to know this in order to be the best I can be. He's somebody who's willing to learn. What happens with a lot of people is they get comfortable with who they are, and they'll learn a lesson that brought something valuable to them. Oh yeah, I learned this, but not if it's something hard or whatever. Some people are too arrogant to actually put themselves in a situation to always learn and grow. And Jesse, you're really good at learning, even at a point where you're very good at what you do, and you're very great. You're a nice person. I've liked you since I've known you, but Jesse is continually evolving and learning. That's a really great mindset. Don't count on people to change ever, but if it's related to yourself, you can always change.
I appreciate that. It is super important not to get too fixed into like your beliefs or your habits
or your skill set,
especially in today's business world where things are nuts and they're changing and AI is coming out and technology is coming out, and like the days of being like, yeah, I'm a baker and I went to school for it and that's what I'm going to be forever. Like, and that's what the '08 thing taught me really quick too, is like the industry and the market can change things on you quickly. And so no matter what you're doing, you should try and learn as much as you can and adapt to what the world's doing. If you get too stuck into your ways, you're going to be left behind. And even on ERC, we've all seen it, right? Like as we learn new things, as the IRS defines new things, we could be frustrated and be like, oh, the rules have changed. This isn't fair, right? Or we can be like, oh, we gained more knowledge. Let's adapt. Let's get better. And those are hard lessons to learn.
So something you and I were having a conversation yesterday about just business, like opportunities in business, right? And how it's like, oh yeah, this is like the best opportunity I've ever had. So first off, I hope everybody on listening to this, whatever you're doing, hopefully you're excited about it, whatever that is, not just with work, with everything. Like hopefully you're excited about, like when Jesse says like, you chose to be here. Why are you like, come on, like pull yourself out. You chose to be here. Whatever you're choosing to do, make that like the best thing in your life right now. Like if you go to church, like enjoy it. If you're going to go to a baseball game, like don't feel guilty you're at a baseball game, go enjoy that baseball game. Right. With this campaign specifically, it's funny. When we were on that Amazon campaign, I remember us saying like, this is the best campaign. This is once in a lifetime. We had the conversation yesterday about just once in a lifetime. Right. And my favorite story of once in a lifetime, I tried to go to the Masters for the third year in a row a couple years ago. I'd been 2 years in a row, and I was like, it's like once in a lifetime. And my wife reminded me that I had been there twice already. So this would be the third time in my lifetime. And it's funny though, but I love that I love being that excited about whatever I'm doing, because that's what makes it fun for me. The Amazon campaign, we really thought was once in a lifetime. And then this ERC we were talking about yesterday, how this is once in a lifetime. And it's funny, from where we started to where it is today, it is crazy how much better this campaign is, how much more put together it is, the systems, the programs, the training, everything, the leads, all that kind of stuff all together. Tell me why you feel like there's a once in a lifetime opportunity, this ERC thing, and why are you so excited about it?
There's a couple things, right? Obviously, the obvious answer that anyone who's selling it, just like the commissions on this are outstanding, right? But there are some other things for me that are very attractive, and that is helping people. We've all sold other products in the past that, you get really good at selling them, but maybe you don't feel the satisfaction of having been able to help someone. And in the end, I talked about mortgages, like the market was frustrating and it was a bad time. But really why I left is because underwriters were turning everyone down for a few months. And what I enjoyed about a mortgage was like helping a new homeowner buy their first home.
The good news.
Or helping someone who had racked up a bunch of credit card debt find a way to refinance it and manage their payments. Like it was very fulfilling, and that's important to me. And this is one of the coolest things you could do for that. I mean, I don't know if everyone gets to always see it with their individual clients, but being back at corporate, it's so cool to see, especially as I work with Rosina and I get to see some of like the invoicing things, and we ought to do a better job where we can. Obviously some of it's private, but some of the messaging of the thank you so much and oh my goodness, we were really tight on cash and oh, this helped us so much. Like that stuff's super gratifying to see. And you need that. You need that in your work, because people get to the point where you realize like money is actually not most of our motivating driving factor, even though most of us might say it is. It's really not. Your workplace environment, how you feel about what you're doing, and contributing to the world in a positive way. And this is an awesome campaign. That I was a small business owner for most of my life, so being able to help small business owners understand something that's a little complex or intricate. You and I owned a business together in our early 20s. We didn't know shit about shit. We would not have been able to navigate something like the ERC.
Oh, and how life-changing
we could
would that
barely
have been
pull
for our
together
business?
filing our taxes, right? Some very basic stuff as young entrepreneurs, like having someone be able to step in and educate you and lead you down the right path that's doing it honestly and ethically. Like, that's a cool thing for me.
For me too. Sean?
Yes.
Jared,
Yeah,
what about you?
When you were talking, it brought up the memory of in Reno when we were out there, the first splits we ever did, and there was this lady. She ran a daycare, and she didn't know how she was gonna make it through this pandemic. And when I told her about ERC and everything, it literally brought her to tears. And I've never sold a product that has brought someone to tears. Maybe DirecTV got close when someone was getting a sports package.
Look, Jared, if you would have sold me the Sunday ticket, you would have felt the
There
same.
would have been tears.
I get where you're
There would have
coming
been
from.
tears.
But you know what I mean?
Yes.
Seeing that, I'm like, wow, this isn't just a service. This is actually life changing.
It's awesome.
and it's beautiful. So.
Well, you're a busy man, Jesse Christiansen.
When you're this hard to get on the schedule,
I was gonna say
you can't do the 2-hour podcast.
For people not listening, we had a pretty short time frame.
well,
with
my
Jesse, and
time-
I'd love to keep going.
Yeah,
but
my time is up, and I had a 30-minute window. I took 9 minutes of that just to spend some one-on-one time with an old buddy. And
Yeah, look.
I felt like we allocated that time very well.
And one of the things I've learned being in Hollywood and my agent, keep the people wanting more. you know?
Yes, for sure. No, I actually, the main thing I wanted people to get out of this podcast, not everybody is going to get to spend time with you, but you're really good at what you do. You care a lot about this company. You care a lot about the reps out in the field, and the people on the back end, the accountants. And Jesse really does, he's more in tune probably with the company wide than maybe anybody else in here. And so I want everybody to get just a quick glimpse of who you are and who they're working with. And as his official title is the CRO, right? Chief Revenue Officer. And there's nobody better I want managing my money than Bernie. But after that, it would be you. Yeah.
Thanks. I love you guys. And I like this format where you bring me in and everyone says nice stuff about me. So get with my agent and book another time. This was good for me too, Jared.
It's a spotlight. It just brings out the light in your eyes, right?
And my forehead.
All right. Thanks for being on, Jesse. Let's
See you
go kill
guys.
it.